promise you, if I had some, that might be a possibility. It might be a possibility if I had some. You're missing some hair too.
Funny.
Look, you run that on the tape. Run that on the tape.
It's on.
But I said you're missing some hair too. Well, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So, I'm practicing at this and doing some practice. And so today, it's kind of like teaching, like a lesson. You never kind of know how it's going to go. So today, what I'm going to do is I have questions from the community. I'm going to answer them while you're eating. The juice. Yeah. I'm going to get you the recipe. I'm telling you, I'm going to get you the recipe. The person with the recipe is right over there. It's a secret recipe. I'm just letting you know that now. All right, discussion topics. So these questions came from, and this is really cool now that I'm thinking about it. It's kind of like we call it in education, blended learning. You're here in person. These questions came electronically. So we have electronic questions, in-person questions. So I'm going to answer the electronic questions, email, I guess, while you are eating our in-person class. So transportation. Students with IEPs and transportation. I'm assuming that they're asking me about if we're going to have enough paraprofessionals, and right now we do. Good, perfect.
Our son is autistic and he has special needs. And we have bus transportation for pre-K, but they're not offering it for kindergarten because we're keeping him at the same school. And since it's not in a 1.5-mile distance, they're taking that away from us. So we have to transport him to, he has a routine that he has, and he feels safe and secure in his school. So moving schools would highly disrupt his process. And so we almost feel like it's kind of like a punishment, since we want to keep him in the environment that he's comfortable with, to not offer the transportation.
Yeah, so school works like this. And sometimes the uniformity of school gets in the way of customer service. So it's kind of like this. If we do that, then guess what? We're doing it for every kid that's in that space. That said, though, Craig Anderson and Joy Stokes, so student assignment, transportation, I will have them reach out and have a conversation with you by phone or by Zoom to walk through some of the details about the why and see if there's flexibility. Yeah, that's important. We want to reach out and have a conversation. And they are both really good. I mean, Mr. Anderson is incredible. He calls everybody that everywhere.
Okay,
He's my idol. RTA schedules not aligning with school schedules, being late as a result. Yeah, so that's true. RTA has changed their schedule. They had a schedule where our students were on time, and then they changed the schedule, and now our students are late. And that's an ongoing conversation with RTA. We are currently we're having discussions with them about lots of things. And that's one of them. RTA transportation times, bus stops, and some other issues in terms of bus passes and when kids get on and get off the bus. So that's we have a team of people that's working to resolve that. And that team of people are people that are on my team, that are on my leadership cabinet, board members, community members, city officials, library. There's a team of people that's working through this process. And so we will report out as we go along on our website. DPS Yellow Bus Transportation. I'm pleased to tell the public or inform the public that we have 108 routes according to transportation and 120 drivers. And what that means is that if everyone comes to work, then there will be drivers who are sitting around. Maybe, I don't know what they're doing. I have to find out. But everyone, in any organization, everyone doesn't come. So I think we're in a situation this year where if we work on attendance, if we work on retention, if we work on climate, and better yet, culture, one of the 5 C's, if we work on that, then we'll have folks who want to come to work and who want to be there. We're also involved on the operations side, in a happiness survey. And I know that sounds kind of corny, a happiness survey. And we want to know what makes people happy when they're at work. Because if we can replicate that, we can get you to come to work and the organization can become more efficient. So I'm really pleased with where we are today with transportation. And I want to be in that same place in 6 months. It says your plans, but I want to say every time you hear me say I am part of a team. Well, we have an academic team that's about 10 people, all very bright, committed to research, committed to best practices. And we work together to figure out how we can increase opportunities for kids, students, young adults, as well as test scores. Test scores is part of a comprehensive process for us. We don't see school as just test scores. We see it as much bigger than that. But to answer your question, what are your plans, our plans to improve test scores? So the team just now became whole. So Lisa Miner is the associate superintendent for instruction and leadership. And Akeisha Sheedy is returning, was a superstar principal at Westwood and Leaf Shore, and did some great work in Huber Heights. She's here as a chief academic officer. And I can tell you from an overarching perspective, one of the gaps in education is typically, I'm not talking about just Dayton Public Schools, typically there's a gap between what people say is happening and what is actually happening. And the larger the gap, the worse the results. The larger the gap, the worse the results. So I can tell you that we are committed to accurately reporting what's going on, real-time information, and then responding to that gap with evidence-based strategies. That's what we're committed to. And how do I know that works? There's a guy here filming it. He's over there. He writes lots of blogs about me. Looking at it now, his name is David Esrati. He loves to write about my time at Thurgood as the principal, Thurgood Marshall High School. And I can tell you that the first year I was there, we had one of the largest increases in test scores without me talking about test scores in Dayton. And there were some basic fundamental things I did. And so because I've done it before at a school level, and I've done it multiple times, I think it can be replicated at a district level. So one of the basic things was I made sure everybody was in class. There was never anybody in the hallway. Because if you're in the hallway, you're not in the class. Then we asked teachers to really deepen their strategy around lesson planning, the planning for instruction itself, and to leave their desk and get out and engage with kids. And by the way, almost every time I'm engaged with someone, I'm standing, walking, and talking. So you want to do that same thing in the classroom. The other thing is you want to make sure that kids are completing all their work and they're doing it with fidelity. And then you want to extend the school day, and you want to do it in 2 ways. The first is you want to extend the school day with extended opportunities. Kids have pride in the school when they stay after school and they're involved in all type of extracurricular activities. Not just sports, but extracurricular activities. And then you want to extend the school day, especially in grades, for me, 5, 6 through 12 with homework. You got to go home and practice. There's just no way around it. There's just no way around it. And you hear people say, well, they're going home and practicing it wrong. Okay, we'll deal with that when they get back to school. But you have to go home and practice. But it creates discipline. It creates what we call academic stamina. That's a real term. Academic stamina, the ability to do large volumes of work. and we have to have an intense focus on writing. You typically hear reading, reading, reading. Kids who can write can do just about anything. In fact, there's a saying that you have to be able to read to get out of high school, write to get out of college. And anybody who has a terminal degree, that would be like a PhD, something like that, you have to write. Large volumes of writing. Writing tells us you can express yourself. Writing tells us that you can reflect. Your writing it's got to be at the center of what we do. And so those 8 people, I think I'm the 9th person, but those 8 people and myself, we meet once a week. We'll be meeting next week to kind of solidify some of the we call academic non-negotiables. That's just one page of things that we've got to see every time we go in classrooms and every time we go in buildings that we've got to see. And if we do that, we should see some increases in test scores, but that's just part of, this is part of a culture of trying to do things in a way that demonstrates a certain level of competence, one of those 5 C's across my shoulder. Also, did you hear me say, not me, I'm on a team. I'm on a team. I'm the superintendent and I'm part of a team. I'm the public facing team, but this is not about me. It's about how can I recruit, build, and develop the best possible team to do the work for you. I was just telling another community member that one of the things I'm most pleased about is I've been able to recruit people who are really good to Dayton public schools. That's part of my job too. Part of my job is to make sure really good people want to come here to work. And so we'll keep doing that and we'll keep getting better. Why does CTE have a lottery system? Okay, I'm gonna give you, for instance, let's talk about if certain CTE programs. A lot of kids want to be in those programs. Because I don't have it here, I can't remember the name. What's the one when you beautician? Cosmetology. Yeah, if I had some hair, I'd remember that. But cosmetology, we may get a couple hundred applications for cosmetology with say 25 spots. Well, we can't have everybody in. And the question is, well, why don't you have another cosmetology program? Well, that's a long-term process. There's seat rules to CTE. There's operation components behind it. So typically, you have a really hot CTE pathway where a lot of kids want to be involved in that. It creates a lot of space. We have to have a certain number of spaces for all of our kids, and then we kind of go from there. What is the district doing to address bullying? I mentioned before that I was a high school principal, elementary, and a middle school principal, so I've dealt with that a lot. I want to talk about this in a couple of phases. The first is, let's talk about the technical aspect, like the things that we just have to do that are like by law. By law, Ohio Revised Code 3316, you have to investigate bullying and you have to do a report. And that report goes to, and depending on the size of the district, your immediate supervisor or the superintendent. And in that report, there has to be something called a safety plan. That means you have to develop a safety plan as a building team. That means the building SROs, teachers, the principals, a building safety plan to protect the child from bullying. And then you have to execute that plan. So, for instance, if Mr. Esrati was bullying, we'd have to get a safety plan to make sure he was not in my presence in this space here. And so you have to execute the safety plan. You have to write it, and I've written lots of them, and I get it. It takes a lot to put the plan together, and the investigation is exhausting because you have to interview all the kids that are involved. You have to interview teachers that are involved. You have to write that down. You have to call all of the parents. And all of this has to be documented. But it's the right thing to do for the safety of kids. What is the course of action when a student is bullied? I kind of talked about that. Bell times. Why do some schools have a 7 a.m. bell time? So there's this debate in education that goes like this. High schoolers stay up late. High schoolers sleep late. So in order for them to get to school on time, we should have a late bell schedule. And then students that are younger, like you, that they go to bed. What time's your bedtime? Do you have one? Yeah. Typically younger kids, 8 or 9 o'clock. The idea is that they're up earlier. So then off to school goes the students who are younger. That's a conversation that we have in education. In addition, this is still a relatively large district. Today, when I looked, we had 12,555 students, according to the report I saw, and 27 buildings. So with those number of buildings, you have tiers that you deliver kids in. And when you deliver kids in tiers, we can't deliver them all at the same time, all at 2 times. The district is too large at this point. There's another conversation too that goes like this. Athletics, I am not agreeing with this, but I've heard it in other districts, and I see it and I hear it. Athletics is important. And in order for kids to be transported from their school to other athletic events in other places, high schools typically start at a certain time. So there are lots of things that drive what time schools start. In addition, we have quadrants too, and we're part of a year-long, investigative inquiry as to the validity of those quadrants and whether or not we'll keep them. Again, a year-long investigative inquiry into the validity of the quadrants and whether we'll keep them. We try to take our time and do things by thinking through them, not making last-minute decisions. And sometimes that's uncomfortable for us because we feel the pressure of wanting to do something. There are some cases when you need to take immediate evasive action. But in others, it's good to kind of plan things out. So transportation, I supervised transportation for a year until recently. And I learned a lot about the complexities of transportation. It's not easy. It seems like, well, just do that. There are all types of triggers in transportation. Extracurricular activities. There are ways to create an after-school STEM program. Did someone here write that? Well,
reference how beneficial the Liddy program.
got you. This is about the Liddy program. If you don't know the Liddy program, it's a program that's a summer STEM academy that we have. And the summer STEM academy is run by Miss Sharon Goins, former principal of Thurgood Marshall High School, and Dr. Leah Williams, who's the gifted coordinator. And every time they see me, they bring up the Liddy. In fact, I think this question is a plant. That's what I think it is. So yes, after school STEM programming. I'm lucky today. My lucky day. I was in Columbus this morning at COSI. While I was in Columbus this morning at COSI, I met a gentleman named Andy Eichel, Senior Director of Education Engagement. And his job is to help develop after-school programming. And I'm going to email him tonight when I get home my lazy boy. And the after-school program, if you don't know, COSI is all about STEM and science. And they have a program there that if you're a high schooler and you go to COSI once a month from the 9th grade to the 12th grade, your STEM pathway in college is paid for free. You go to school for free. So I learned that this morning when I was there. I was presenting there this morning. And I learned that. And whenever I learn something, I always bring it back here and figure out how if we can duplicate it, how do we do it? So lucky me. Is there a way to create more extracurricular activities? We have about 11 committees in the district. That means committees that are made up of staff members and board members. And one of them has to do with after-school activities. So we meet once a month and we continue to come up with ideas and put some of those in action around after-school opportunities for kids. We think that the school building, I mean most of the district leadership and most of the school, we think that this should be a place that's open from 7 to 7. That in fact, this should be part of your home as well. And I can tell you this from experience. When I was a high school principal at Thurgood, I typically didn't go home till about 9 o'clock at night. And that's because kids were in the building after school and all type of activities. Chess club, males of color, writing club, poetry club, all types of sports. Yeah, they were there and it was like family. I was also the assistant principal at Stivers. When the bell rings at Stivers, you don't empty the place out. All types of activities going. The more vibrant your school, someone asked me about test scores. I get that a lot. The more vibrant your school, typically the higher the test scores. The more opportunities, typically the higher the test scores. And yeah, I'm gonna go back to that test scores piece. I said it at convocation. I didn't bring up test scores at all in my address to our 2,300 employees. I stand by this. If you effectively do many other research-based practices that are around test scores will get better. But I challenge the general public to ask if they can remember what their third grade reading score was. Yeah, I want school to be an experience. I want school to be an experience that you remember, not a test score. And yes, to the critics, we're going to actively put pieces in place to make sure folks graduate and that they have a wonderful academic experience. But that's not all we talk about. Like people try to drive there and force you to just test scores so that you don't look at all the other pieces that make up the experience of school. And we're going to push back against those folks that do that. There should be more band programs. I agree. And we are, the district's really come a long way. I mean, that is really that's a plus. When you think about where the district was and where they are now as it relates to band. And I can say this, I'm in the process of actively working on human capital to support after-school band activities in the K-6 band. So we are actively engaged in that right now, looking to see if we have grant dollars to bring human capital on board to help shepherd that process. Teachers. What is your plan to retain and attract teachers? So earlier, I talked about that, my happiness research that we're going to be doing. That's really important. And once I do it on the operations side, with transportation, operations, and those other entities, I hope to be able to bring it to the teacher side as well, to find out, hey, what makes you want to stay in Dayton Public Schools? Why did you stay in Dayton Public Schools? Teachers typically leave teaching. This is through research. They typically leave teaching for these reasons. They don't have the support of the principal. They don't have the support of the principal. They don't have the support of central office, meaning we don't put systems in place to make buildings safe, make sure that you have curriculum on time, make sure that you're taken care of as you go through the very difficult task of teaching. And another reason they leave is because we don't develop mentoring systems where you check in with them, and we don't develop cohorts of teachers. You see, you continue down this path or journey when it's difficult if you're doing it with other people. If you can pick up the phone and say, Alex, whew, I had a tough day. I cannot wait until they suspend David Esrati. I'm wearing you out, boy, because you brought for camera. I can't wait to put him out. Yeah, when you have those type of days, you have to be able to pick up the phone and call someone. Yeah, I taught for 10 years. For a decade. There would be days I would go and I would just sit in my car after school. I would just sit there. And your initial reaction sometimes is to blame the parent. Not good. Your next initial reaction is to blame the child. Not good. Yeah, the reaction we want to see is say, hey, maybe the lesson wasn't engaging enough. Let me go back and revisit that. Maybe I haven't figured out how to develop relationships, get there yet. Maybe, I used to do home visits when I was well, let me back up. I still do. But when I was a teacher in particular, and it kind of tapered off as I became administrator. When I was a teacher, I would do home visits. I've conducted over 500 home visits. When I felt like I wasn't getting through and I couldn't get you to academically cooperate, I would just go. And I got to tell you something. I haven't told this story. Kids never think you're coming over their house. They never think you're coming over their house. So so I'd say, hey, Brandon, this is the third straight day of no homework. And I'm just telling you now, if it happens again tomorrow, I'm coming over. And they go, okay. And so Brandon would come back to school the next day and say, where's your homework? I don't have it, Mr. Lawrence. I don't have it. I wasn't Dr. Lawrence then. I don't have it, Mr. Lawrence. I don't have it. I said, okay, no problem. I just let the whole day go by. Stay after school, grade some papers. Wait till about 5:36 when I thought the parent was home. I pull up my little system. I see where he lives. I write it down on a little index card, put it in my pocket. I get in my car. What the? It's him. I said, yep, it's me. It's me, I'm here. And I sit down with the parent and I would explain what I just explained to you. I've got to extend the day. I'm not asking him to do homework because I just want to be me. I'm asking him to do homework because it builds academic stamina and we have to do the work to catch up. And I can tell you this, it was wonderful because from that moment on, I could always say to a kid, do I need to come back to your house? No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. I got you, Mr. Lawrence. I used to love that. No, don't come back to my house. So, we gotta really enjoy parents. One of the questions is, how are we going to communicate more with parents? I used to do something on Wednesdays. I would just pick 5 or 6 kids and I would call them. And they weren't calls that were calls about discipline. They were calls that said, hey, thank you for being part of Dayton Public Schools. And oftentimes parents were really surprised. What did he do? Nothing. He's great for them. And they never forget those things. And the kids love it. I mean, at the end of the day, the kids would say, call my house. Call my house. Call my house. I had a good day. Call my house, Mr. Lawrence. And so, yes, we've got to really invest in building those type of relationships with parents. And I don't have to just talk about it. I've done it. It works. Yeah, I've done a lot of research on whether it works or not, but I've done it too. I know it works. Schools not returning parent phone calls, no excuse. No excuse. We're going to be on top of it. If that happens, we're going to put out a communication on who you call. No excuse. Nope. I worked in a district, because I haven't spent my whole career in Dayton Public. I worked in a district where that was about the only thing that could get you in trouble with the superintendent. You could miss an email, forget to follow up on that, email the next day. You could miss your weekly communication from time to time. You could miss a report here and there. But if you didn't call a parent back and they called the superintendent's office and he had to call you, cancel Christmas. Yeah, he meant that. No. And I worked in that district and I learned that from him. And I'm bringing it here today. We're going to follow up on that. I hear the parent who said that loud and clear. Schools not returning parent phone calls. I get it. And the final question is, how do you plan on getting more parents involved? Not you, but me, us, we, the team I'm working with. Well, first of all, we have a fabulous, I mean, she's fabulous, parent and community engagement coordinator. Where's your name? Angela Worley has just so much energy, so many connections, is so passionate about the work. But she can't do it by herself. So we're working on building that department up, but even that department can't do it by itself. That department has to be integrated across the entire organization. I talk a lot about collaboration. So that means other areas of the organization have to be connected to parent and family community engagement. So she's been working with lots of other groups within the district, lots of other divisions within the district since I've been the superintendent. What do you say? That's right. Yeah, got to work with other divisions. Can't do it by herself. So, an example of that would be, I chose Wright Brothers first. I wanted to come to the east side to make a presence here. And I forgot to do this. But I should have had the east side principals connect with Angela and then have them send out a robocall. But many of them have open house right now. Yeah, I think several have open house. So I kind of missed that. This is my first one I'm practicing. And as we go and do these things in the future, yeah, you have other people help you put on parent events. Yeah, she can't do this by herself, and no one department can do it. And then you start to have interesting things that parents want to do. Your parent involvement doesn't necessarily mean you're in the building doing something. Sometimes it's just having fun. I was a principal of elementary school where they had family fun night and games. Hundreds of people just out to have fun. Especially at the elementary school, we got to make this fun. We have to make it family. We have to make it an experience, K-12. And so, yeah, I didn't know, Alex, I appreciate you, Ms. Kincaid. I didn't know this was going to work out. These bullet points right here. I thank you for all the answers you gave. Questions for tonight? Yeah. This is Mr. Epps, one of my closest friends. I met him in 2017. Yeah, we were in doctoral school together, and we had our first meal at Red Lobster. Red Lobster. He had 2 shrimp, 1. No, I'm just kidding. I don't remember what he had. I had no idea what you had. It's good to see you. Yeah. Well, I have a question for the students. Are you ready for school? No. You know, I appreciate that. What grade are you in? 8. What's your name? What school? Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, listen, would you like for me to push school back a week? Okay, I mean, I have the juice, man. I think I can do it. Let me know. Let me know. Let me know.
Yeah, one with that, we haven't received any information on who our son's teacher is this year or anything like that. I've called the school,
What school is this?
Roosevelt Elementary. And I called the school and they said, we don't know if you're gonna get a letter or an email about that, but we have open house this Friday.
They're like tomorrow?
Yeah. And school starts next week, so we don't have any clue of what he needs for school supplies. And I mean, that's kind of like putting a damper on us to have to rush to get it all at once, you know what I mean?
So, we're making eye contact. This is a true story. So there's transition with the previous superintendent leaving. I think I was board approved on July the 11th, something like that. I haven't been the interim superintendent in a month. And so I am like, we're catching things as we go. But I can assure you, I can guarantee you that next year you'll have the information at the beginning of the summer.
Okay.
Guaranteed.
Okay, awesome, yes.
And I called Ms. Worley this morning when I was in Columbus. This is the type of telepathic relationship. Telepathic. I called her this morning. And she said, you know what? I was going to call you. Is that not true?
Yeah.
And she said, I am on the phone with the parent. And the parent, well, she said, wait a minute. I'm just going to loop the parent. So she does her thing with her phone. I don't know how to do that. But anyway, we all end up on the phone. And the parent says to me the exact same thing. I haven't received any information at all. At all. Nothing. School supplies, class, I don't know anything. Now, I will say this. If you have a high school student, all the high schools had schedule preview. That means all the high school students had an opportunity to go pick their schedule up, walk the buildings, you would know. I just left Walkerman. Walkerman had almost 260, 70 kids out tonight. It was amazing, the energy. So they all came to pick up their schedule. They know where that is. So 712, don't quote me on this. I think all the schools had a schedule preview from 712. I was at many of them. But elementary, thank you. Elementary, there was a gap there. We're going to fix it. That's something else you're going to get from me too. You're going to get the truth. Yeah, we didn't get it done. We're going to fix it. I'm not taking questions from the press. I'm not taking questions. Go ahead.
So, long time ago, we were on the technology steering committee together,
Yeah.
and we were discussing assigning laptops to students and having them be responsible for them and being able to take them home. Now, I don't know what happened during COVID and what's happening after, but is that going to be the policy, or are we going to still keep them in carts and locked up because for some reason we can't trust students with a Chromebook? What's the answer?
I'm going to take that back to the IT Technology Committee, one of the 11 committees we have. I would say, Mr. Esrati, that your comments about students taking them home, they're relevant. I'm not suggesting we're going to make that change, but they're relevant. That there are many, many school districts where kids sign up in the summer, they go get their schedule, they get their computer, iPad, or whatever device the district's using. They take them home, they use them. They have a depreciation cost. They keep them for X number of years. Sometimes they let them take them with them when they're in high school with a small fee. Yeah, Yeah, I hear you loud and clear. When you and I were on that committee, I was chief of school innovation. And that was maybe close to a decade ago. So, yeah, let's revisit that. That's definitely worth revisiting.
If we can't trust kids with a laptop, I don't know what we're doing teaching them, because that's a fundamental thing, is learning responsibility, number one. Number two, you can't get around in this planet anymore without full competency on a computer. And number three, it also gives access to parents who might not have that capability at home. Now, I know we have a problem in how do we get Wi-Fi to all these people at home, but at least for composition, there are programs that can be run on that for studying, there can be, everything else. Let's please treat them like citizens of the century they're in. That's all I ask. I mean, the cost of textbooks, some of those textbooks cost more than the Chromebooks.
I want to repeat what you just said. That's all you would ask?
That is all I want for the citizens of Dayton and the students of our district.
So there'll be no more ask from you.
No more. You do that, we're happy.
Okay.
You might want to look at the COVID years, because every kid did take home a Chromebook to see what the damage rate was or how many were turned back in good shape. I do know that at some point the decision was made to not collect Chromebooks back. But I think I'm not sure what the status was, but I think that might give you a good baseline for the committee to consider.
Thank you for the information. And we will do that. Well, we got one more question for the students. Well, a student. Are you ready for school? It's a yes. It's a yes. Look at those eyes. It's a yes. Look at those eyes. It's a yes. Yes, it is. I am glad someone here is ready for school. It's you. And we're ready for you when you're ready. Hey, thanks for coming out. Take the food with you, please. Have a good evening.
I have a door prize. And everyone, if you didn't get a ticket from me, please raise your hand. All right. And I'm going to ask Superintendent Lawrence to pick the winning number. It's a good one.
Okay. Winning number.
Hold on, here's one for 1 4.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Do another little
Yeah,
spin.
good round. Stay in the best.
Should we stay in here?
You got your tickets out? Okay.
Okay. Okay. 8, 9, 4, 2, 2, 4. There it is. I love the suspense today. Are we doing more than one?
We can. $25 Kroger gift card.
Let's do it. Do it.
Yeah, you know, inflation, yes, snacks for school and everything.
Oh, thank you.
Makeshift here.
Oh, I know.
Like that. Okay. 8, 9, 4, 2, 3, 1. You won? Oh my God.
This is a smart plug. Like this. So you can plug your devices, your lamps, anything like that in, and you know you can control it remotely. Thank you, sir.
Hey, so yeah, so this superintendent, it's my first community meeting. This is like really fun. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for letting me practice. You were a great group to practice on. Uh, and yeah, it's really fun to be in your presence, to be in this space, to hear your feedback. When I was asked why we're doing this, I said they said, "Do you have a speech ready?" I said, "No." They said, "You have a PowerPoint ready?" No. They said, "Well, what are you doing? What are you doing, Dr. Lawrence?" I said, "I really just want to hear from the community. We typically talk at you. I wanted to hear from you. Thanks, and enjoy the rest of the day."
Please feel free to some additional refreshments. I also want you to take home my merch, your commemorative, one of a kind Dayton Public Schools Parent University knapsack. I've also got refrigerator magnets. You probably need your reading glasses to see it, but it has got the entire school year calendar on it. But yeah, so take this home, put this on your refrigerator. We have some information regarding our STEM program as well as the international school. So make sure that you visit the table, take some of the giveaways home with you. Thank you so much for coming this evening.
Thank you.